2026. This is disrupting $100 trillion industry, day zero. This brought to you by Zayuk. Zayuk is a property technology company that I founded. We do various different things that I'll speak about throughout this live stream. What we do at the heart of everything that we build is to protect the value of property on behalf of property owners. We do not want people to lose value owning things. It's inherent sometimes, but there are a lot of times when that maintenance compounds or something about governance doesn't seem to be understood between two parties, maybe even more than two parties. We look to insert ourselves there where governance meets physical assets meets financials. These types of protocols that we're building are the basis of what you may know as Web3. Web3 talks about governance, it talks about money, it talks about tokenized assets. We are bringing that to market. Whether it's in a way that our customers even need to comprehend or not is not relevant. We use the tools available to us to bring value to customers. The industry of property is massive. One of the largest industries in the world is the American real estate market. And there are so many complexities within that market and within that industry. And our app was built specifically for HOAs. But what does that mean for any property? And what does that mean for Zayuk? Are we going to be an HOA property management company our entire life cycle of the company? Probably not, no. But that doesn't mean that we don't understand the requirements held by HOA managers, HOA residents, especially property owners within HOAs, aren't complex and vitally important. The American homeowner almost certainly owns a home within the context of a homeowner association. That was not accurate. There's over a 50% chance and over 70% chance by many statistics on new builds that homeowners will live within an HOA. And the issue that we're now coming to head with is multifaceted. One, the assets within the United States of America are degrading. The physical infrastructure. A lot of buildings have been around for 40, 50 years. And in some environments like South Florida, even North Florida, that is a long time to be dealing with things like salt and sea and winds, all brought together by some pretty crazy acts of God, natural events, natural disasters. And that has culminated into a few things, one of them being skyrocketing insurance. Now, insurance is complicated. I'm not an insurance expert, but insurance costs money. And people are dealing with rising insurance rates, rising property maintenance rates, rising everything regarding property. Maybe not everything, but many things. And that's where Zayuk inserts ourselves. So in order to do that, we've actually become an expert in many different things. One of them being drones, another of them being FinTech, some of it being software development. And in the future, we hope to get into some physical smart technology, but I don't necessarily need to speak about that right now. What I do want to speak about is how we're going to resolve our customers' problems immediately, what problems they have, and also doing it in a way where I can share with you all how how we're going about it. We're going to go about it in terms of social media, in terms of marketing for a few reasons. One, scalability. The laws of scale on social media are frankly so exponential relative to sales that it doesn't make sense to do sales. Maybe it does, and I don't want to say it doesn't because it does. You do need to be able to sell your product, and I actually like sales. It's tough, it's very challenging, and I find marketing to actually be more rewarding. Not even necessarily internally, although I do believe internally as well, but also I actually think there's more value to the amount of energy, time, capital that you put into a piece of content versus a sale. A sale might go nowhere. It literally might go nowhere. Whereas a piece of content very likely will go nowhere, but it will reach way more people way more quickly. And although those people and their turnover rates to purchasing your product, subscribing to your app, subscribing to your service, purchasing a one-time instance of your service might be way lower, you can still put out so much content and reach so many people and have that skill be applied to other places that if you are able to be a great content creator, and if you're able to get good at content distribution, which is not easy, distributing content effectively is so difficult. And as someone who's put out hundreds of hours of podcasts, probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of pieces of individual content, it is a very difficult thing. And doing it well is extremely difficult. And even when you do it as an amateur, it doesn't, there's a huge difference when you do something, even creating content as an amateur versus when you attempt to do it as a professional. And a lot of people will look at creating content, putting out pieces of content as kind of a joke, as kind of what are you doing with your life? Especially, you know, m- older people, maybe they don't understand, maybe even younger people as well. But when you look at statistics of how many young people want to be creators or YouTube stars, this is the way it seems it's going. And when you look at the amount of time spent on screens, it's obvious that this is the way of the future. And then I look at a certain few people. Law by Mike is one example. Law by Mike isn't necessarily that famous on Instagram, although he's super famous. But on YouTube, he has 17.5 million followers. Instagram, he has 1.9 million followers. I follow him on Instagram, not on YouTube. So I've studied a lot of his Instagram content, and I'm actually going to be doing something similar, looking to create real estate with Roosh. Real estate, law by Mike, real estate with Roosh. My name's Karush. My name is actually Kurosh, but I'm known as Kurosh. And so a lot of my friends, abbreviate my name or shorten my name with Roosh. So studying law by Mike. And these things are like, take someone like me, for example. I have a professional engineering certificate. I have a degree in electrical engineering. I, had multiple engineering jobs under multiple different domains. And it's a completely different skill set that doesn't necessarily translate well. And you can say, I put so many years into engineering or whatever, and I'm going to stick to that because that's where I'm comfortable. Or even building a prop tech company like Zayuk, like actually putting the code down, writing the code, pretty easy. Getting on the level of people for them to understand why you need this. And then not just that, but having the humility to understand that you might be wrong in your implementation, listening to them, taking in their requirements as the customer, as the potential customer, and applying that to your product almost immediately. That is something that I have done. I've been starting Zayuk for 27 months now. Almost every single time that happened, except a few instances where the requirements were so not necessarily complicated, but just impossible to implement immediately. For example, AR VR implementation. We are going to get into AR VR, but we just can't do that soon, unfortunately. We had a customer who wanted that, and I still have that in my mind. Like, I can't wait to show him that feature. Be like, hey, you told me to. There are two customers actually. One's not really a customer, but a stakeholder. And one customer said, I want this. I want to be able to take a picture of a light post and be able to have the software understand what that is and then get me all the tickets from it. So, I as a software provider, I have to make sure that he gets that, and I have to make sure that I'm the one that provides it to him to the best of my ability. And I think we're going to be able to do it soon. When I first got that um, recommendation or that need or that want, I knew I couldn't do that at that moment. But it's been over a year now, and so Zayuk is now in a position where maybe not immediately we can put that in, but we have a plan to actually putting that in. But even going into less complicated things, time and time again, you hear or you see things from a competitor. Maybe you see a product from a competitor, and you're like, my app doesn't have that. Now you have to build that, and not you have to build that to compete with that person, but to more so understand that when that person, say, possibly transitions, or that company, if you're doing B2B and not B2C, transitions from their product to your product, you don't want them to lose something that's not worth losing unless you're able to supplement that with something much better. But if you're not, then you have to actually bring that product into your suite of products. And I actually put a post about this out earlier where I think Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal. I don't believe that's plagiarism because, especially in coding, you'd really have to get deep into the code to do that. Um, but it's an understanding of you need some humility. And I actually wrote an article about this: chickens and eggs. Chickens and eggs. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? The market or the founder? And it's both. I'm not even get into it, but it's both. I'm not going to get into it regarding science, but it's obviously first the egg, and then from there you get chickens and you get eggs. So when you try and build things, you need chickens and eggs. You need to innovate yourself, and you need to be able to take in what's already there and apply it to your own suite of products. So mentioning, and now I don't know how we got into that subject, but just going to something like Law by Mike, for example, you see the way he puts out content regarding law, or you see maybe how Mr. Beast puts out YouTube videos, or you see how maybe Gary Vee just puts out content, and especially when it's strategic. And that's the thing I think people who don't do this professionally don't understand. And even people who are attempting to use social media as a lever to grow don't understand because they're amateurs. Frankly, they're using a lot of times amateur mindset. And once you get into the professional mindset, for me, things have changed dramatically. And the reason I'm saying you is because this is something that's come up with me. I've been putting out content for maybe 5 years now, and all of it's been amateur. And I mean, this is free, and people who are ingesting this are doing it, for free. But at the same time, I think of this as a professional piece of content the same way that maybe a company would pay an advertiser. That's your profession. You're putting capital down for an advertiser to market your brand. And it's really important for creators to really not try and brand things that aren't worth their ar- try and not advertise for things that aren't worth their brand, because that's your name behind that. And if you put out a bad product, I know a lot of people right now, a lot of creators are doing the gambling apps and multiple different gambling apps. There's so many. There's like 3 or 4 at this point. And uh, I heard a podcast recently saying, you're making money on that. The gambling app is making, and you insinuating the person doing the advertisement and promoting it, the promoter of it making money on it. The gambling app is making money on it, but that gambling app is a business. It needs to make a profit. So that profit is coming from somewhere. And we've seen this multiple times in the crypto industry where someone will release a coin and it dramatically spikes in value, and people buy it at the top expecting it to continue spiking, and it then just uh, falls to lose a large majority of its value, and people lose a lot of money on that. And once your name is put behind something like that, it becomes a huge deal. You lose a lot of brand credibility at that point. So even this, you know, um, like Law by Mike, subscribe to get to 20 million. That's what his cover photo is right now. Maybe I should share it. Yeah, so I mean, that is just really, really great, really worth looking into. I haven't even looked at one of these long form videos. And so I have to study these because Law by Mike is so good at um, his short form stuff too. So to see that his long form stuff is even more subscribed to. I mean, I don't know the numbers between YouTube and Instagram. Maybe I should check. Um, YouTube larger, more male, 2.5 plus billion. Instagram is younger, 2 billion, and higher female. Amazing. Amazing. And ooh, 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 great. So I'm gonna be studying these. I might even watch one right now. Um I don't think I'm allowed to just show it like that. Uh but just going in, gonna study these and becoming very good at understanding and making it a priority. And one of the reasons I think that's hugely important, how do I stop sharing? Is because, give me one moment. Because of one, laws of scaling, two, the amount, oh, there it is, to the amount of time that you put into it. And live streaming is really, really worth doing. So here we go. I need to put out some content right now. Um, I've been using several different mechanisms for that, including Canva, Opus Clip, or Opus Pro, Restream for streaming, several others as well, Buzzsprout for podcasts, and just some other things. So right now I'm going to look into an HOA news bit and try and create a piece of content surrounding HOA news. Just some form of event. So I believe I picked one earlier today. Okay. Homeowners demanding reform. This was related to an issue in Derby, Kansas. There was mismanagement of funds, $10,000 gap in their association dues, which compared to some of the other ones is not a huge deal. I'm sorry. I don't want to underplay that. It's a huge deal. It's just not as damaging as some of the other ones. That is a better use of better way to describe that. So for the go to market 100 days, we're going to be doing it likely 10 a.m. every day, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Going to take Sunday off. And 2 to 5 hours every day, mostly putting out content, mostly doing live streams, and those sales might not convert directly, and I won't be surprised if they don't. but the amount of energy, time, effort that you put into getting better at putting out content seems to me way more worth calling people and attempting to convert sales one on one versus the skill of being able to put out content. It is really unique. People have been taking advantage of it for 20 years, and it's still, I think one of the differences is now from 20 years ago is we have so many different platforms, and the pervasiveness of the platforms within people's lives is huge. And there are calls to take the platforms away from teenagers and young people, which is understandable. They can be very, frankly, the internet might be dangerous for young people. They're just too much forming and too malleable, but that's not going to happen for adults. And for businesses and enterprises, maybe people do sell to children, whether that be toys or video games or whatever. For enterprises that don't sell to children, that their target market is, maybe even older teenagers, 18, 19, 20, people in their 20s and their 30s, or adults, social media is as big as ever. And the reason is because how pervasive it is within people's lives. Even 10 years ago, sure, kids were on it all the time. Facebook, teenagers, young people were on it. Now you have it where everyone is on it. LinkedIn is so powerful. Mr. Beast has evolved into something that is an enterprise where he has this billion-dollar enterprise that does chocolate and many things. Gary Vee put out this article, The Solopreneur, where he was saying people's profiles are the business. And he's right. He's right. He's frankly correct. I see major enterprises having a difficult time being so large moving forward. It seems that the way networking has gone through the internet, through social media, that the enterprise level company is, and especially with AI upcoming, maybe it's still powerful. I'm not going to say it's going to die, but there are opportunities for smaller businesses in a way that there wasn't before. And especially with AI, maybe AI isn't sophisticated enough today or in 5 years. In 10 years, I imagine there's little chance it won't be sophisticated enough to do a lot of desk jobs, a lot of jobs where it's email and telephone and management. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But if you are a coder and you code with AI a lot, you know what this thing can do. If you are a proficient coder and you've been coding with AI, then you understand how powerful this technology is. Because, sure, maybe not everyone can vibe code, but if you can code without an AI, then with an I have found you can do things that are unimaginable 5 years ago. And what I have found to be the most overcoming aspect of this is the configuration stuff. Say I want to use a new tool. I used to have to go through mountains of research and just to make the tool work, or if it was a small syntax error, you'd have to you could spend days, hours doing this minute issue. Whereas now, a lot of that's avoided. If you want a new technology, you have an expert in integration right there. You have 3 if you use Gemini, Claude, and Grok, and I mean, there's Copilot and ChatGPT. I mean, you have 3, 4, 5 different AIs that you can choose from to work on this thing. And so, again, I've been speaking about this a lot. I think some people in Silicon Valley have been speaking about it. The architects, the word people, the designers, the artists are here to stay. They are as valuable as ever. The architects, the 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 designers, the architects and designers, they're as valuable as ever. Their taste is as valuable as ever. The engineers, the technicians, the 1 plus 1 equals 2 people, hard engineering people. You're competing with the computer now. And not to say that those people aren't valuable, those people are extremely valuable still, but they have to change the way they view their role. The role is no longer a role of a single path. I'm going to do this one thing for 30 years and it's just going to work out, whether that be electrical or structural or mechanical, chemical, all these different things. It's going to be difficult if you're looking at doing the same tasks over and over again as an engineer. You're going to have to expand your role. You're going to have to get into design and architecture to be able to compete. And it should be exciting. I know it sounds nerve wracking, but you should be excited because you're going to be able to bypass a lot of the monotonous stuff. I already mentioned about coding, how a lot of the monotonous stuff, granted, there's still more, and you can vibe code your way into just a disaster. So it's really important that you don't vibe code in a disaster, whatever it may be, some sort of ticking time bomb in your code that will not last. But that's easy to avoid. You just have to have a dialogue with the AI. You have to be able, before you're willing to commit one. For me personally, I have gotten more into reading and writing and communicating now than I had before AI, even when I wasn't talking to any AI and I was just talking to humans, because now I'm constantly, even right here with Google's now Chrome browser agent, I'm constantly communicating with AIs. And the way that I'm able to fine tune their execution is by being very specific in understanding their dialogue, responding to it, and communicating what I really intend to communicate, not being lazy with my speech, with my dialogue with the AI, because the AI needs context. It needs to understand what you're thinking. So when it does something completely wrong, granted, there are times where I've kind of chatted out the AI's context level and it's like too crazy. It has too much going on to be. In that point, you do need to create a new chat. And that is a deficiency of it right now, but I can't imagine that's going. I mean, it might. I don't know. More so, what's important is on a fresh new chat. Say you have your first 10 chats there, having a clean, clear, expanded out dialogue with the AI will increase the chance of it executing what you actually want it to execute. It won't definitively make it so, but the chance of it doing what you want it to do is going to be higher. But you have to be willing to communicate effectively. You have to be willing to read, or I mean listen but read. I use AI through chat mostly because I couldn't imagine coding. It's too slow listening. If you can read effectively, it's much quicker to communicate. Maybe you can do a, speak back to it, but reading is much faster than listening. All right, all right. So I've been talking a lot about this. So again, I'm gonna have to put the Zayuk banner down here. Let's see if I have it already. Yeah, here we go. Just so that everyone knows. So again, prop tech company, AI company, and these next 100 days are going to be about putting out content, about taking today's content, breaking it up into multiple shorts, putting out those shorts, putting out like 5 shorts today is so critical, and something that I haven't been doing, and I really need to do it. So this will be about mostly Zayuk. I do have a second startup, Qnity. We're currently in our freemium stage, beta freemium. That will be transitioning to a paid platform within the next 6 months. And that's really exciting. And it goes back to something that I've kind of been hitting on this whole time, is that yeah, I'm going to end that for now. The scaling laws in social media are so high. I mean, we've spoken about Mr. Beast, but what about I Show Speed? I Show Speed in the last 1-2 years, especially the last 1 year, has done some incredible things globally. Incredible. He's a young guy. I think he's like 20, 21 years old. But what he's done in the last year is, I haven't really watched him before that, is amazing. To go to all these places, to live stream, to create an environment and a product in your content that is so engaging that you have millions and maybe probably not billions, but maybe billions of people watching you. And one of the greatest things about today is how on tune with everything else everyone is in the globe. Because maybe I think COVID was when things really changed. COVID is when we went from really, I mean, again, people are talking about a less globalized society. I think how invasive and dominant social media has been since COVID is overwhelming. Maybe not overwhelming is a wrong word. Pervasive. I've said it multiple times that you have people, you could go to someone in China and they know a lot about what's going on in American politics. Maybe they have their version of it, but then same thing, South America, They have their version of current events, but a lot of it aligns. And granted, just the news everywhere, maybe not everywhere. Some things are still local and some things are a lot of things are still hyper local. But the level of global synchron synchronicity synchronicity, the level of global synchronicity is much higher than it was before COVID. And I believe this is what Gary Vee was speaking about. You're going to have these individuals who are global brands. You already have it with iShowSpeed. You have it with Mr. Beast, where this individual is so good at producing content, at putting out content. Mr. Beast is more videos and uh, video with high production, and iShowSpeed is live stream. But they're in their domain. They're doing it really well. They're finding a lot of subscribers, and they're going to be able to run businesses off those platforms. For granted, they're young people, so a lot of things could change in 20, 30, 40 years, but they're going to be able, if they do things, even just not negatively, they're going to be able to build brand off that for a long time, or use their brand to build product and to sell product. It's so worth doing. And so for me, you have Zayuk, our prop tech company. A lot of it's B2B. Some of it's we're looking to get in more into B2C too, but really, really B2B is where we know we have a lot of value. But then I have Cunity, which is completely B2C. It actually goes for these same types of creators, the entrepreneurial creators. And so by just going and putting out content, not only do you get better at it, which is one other thing, you actually sharpen your skill. You can't just go out one day. Maybe you can. And if you use a lot of intention, maybe you can as well. But you're going to need time to get better. I did. And after a few years, you get a lot better and you're able to understand, all right, these are what I need to do. You're able to understand how you need to adjust in the moment to current events, how you can apply those current events to your content, and really being on top of the day to day. I think it's really important for social media. And it give me one moment, guys. Great. So again, this is day 0. I haven't really done anything besides just speak, and it's to really be able, one thing is to be able to chat about, have content to put out for myself. This is going to be something that once it's done, there's a live stream, day 0, but then you're going to have a day 1. And so I really have to think about tomorrow. Again, we're going to start at 10 a.m., 10, maybe 10:30 to 12:30 every day, and attempt to do 2 hours at least every day of marketing, man, of marketing. So let's just start here. And I was talking about one thing that was going on. All right. So and just so people are aware, so much time, energy, effort into the product. I've put so much thought time, attention into Zayuk and our suite of products that there is no way I would let it just come to hopefully some people that I talk to will buy it. No, especially because I'm able to leverage social media in a way that people understand, but you've seen I've seen across so many different examples or heard them where a piece of content changes everything, and whether that be a business, has this review and it goes really well, and then all of a sudden they get an influx of customers, or Law by Mike saying the greatest thing he's ever done in his career is to put out social media. I believe that's what he said. He said something along those lines. Uh, it's too The laws of scaling are too good here. And again, the laws of scaling in sales, granted, the turnover rate, the conversion rate, much higher on a one-to-one basis, I would say, because it's so targeted when you do a sale. I'd hope so. I'd hope that when you try and sell someone, you're going at them, you know what you're selling, you know who they are, to some degree what their pain points are likely are, because you're building something for them, and the chance of them making the purchase much higher than some random person that's going to view your video on social media. But there are many reasons that it might still be worth it to continue with social media. One, because that piece of content might not convert, but you could get one piece of content that converts 10 different people if you're able to make it viral. And if you post things every single day for years, I would say you almost have to try to not make it viral. Unless, I mean, you could really not care and it could still not go viral. But if you take this as your profession, if you're saying, I'm doing this because we need to convert this much, we need to have our brand be this far out there, it changes it changes your approach. It changes your approach completely. You're going to put more time, more production, more effort into all of it. And going back to what I said about the technical side of Zayuk, I put a lot of time and effort and attention to detail in the code of Zayuk. And maybe one day AI can do all of it. Maybe, maybe not. So, regardless, you're going to put that much time, effort, attention into the content that I produce. This is one reason that I am doing 100 days of go to market, but also of prioritizing marketing over sales. Maybe sales would be way better. Maybe, I could get a lot more conversions in the short term with some sales. But the reach and the amount of operational expenses that I'm going to have by not by prioritizing marketing over sales, it seems, especially in an industry like HOA, where you have so many established players that have been there for so long, that you almost can't do anything unless you take the counter position. And not to say that you can't. You can definitely work and work and work. But that wasn't the type of business that I was imagining. When I chose a high tech business, I chose a high tech business because high tech businesses are businesses of scale. And people always speak about, especially you have someone like Paul Graham speak about, you should do things that don't scale. And he's probably right. But the level of value that putting out a lot of content returns is high. It's so high, whether that's on actually being a part of society, especially something like live streaming, where you're actually putting yourself out there in a way where you have to be ready to go every single day. If this is going to be your profession, you have to be ready to go. You can't just show up. You can't just, oops, I'm going to just, come out, see if it works out. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And that's why I brought up how much attention and care and thought I put into the code of Zayuk, because that's the amount of attention, care that I'm going to put into our distribution cycles. And you have someone like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, I'm going to take on. Building the best, his philosophy. Okay, so this is from Google Gemini. His philosophy focused on building the best possible product first rather than relying on market research, which often meant taking a long time to develop something truly groundbreaking. Time to build versus time to sell. You can just ask customers what they want and then try to give them that. By the time you get it built, they'll want something new. Don't rely on market research. Focus on the draft. Perseverance is key. Let me see. Okay. This is his. To do anything of magnitude takes at least 5 years, more likely 7 or 8. Um, he believed it took roughly 5 years to see a major project through from its initial conception to a finished polished product, and that was craftsmanship. And he famously noted that in tech, your work has a shelf life, that a product or idea typically remains relevant and useful for about 10 years before it becomes sedimentary rock. And this comes from the man who created the Mac too. So he knows that thing was revolutionary and then it became completely obsolete, which is what a lot of people are saying about SaaS today. But regardless, I think the important thing is he said 5 to 7 years. He was saying 10 years. He was talking in terms of decades. And in that sense, you have people within tech who are actually thinking too quickly. And even Steve, he was kind of wrong there. I mean, Just in the sense, you look at the most invasive technology today, it is still a technology that he technically created 20 years ago. I mean, it was, I think he, when was the iPhone created? Yeah. His technology is still the biggest piece of tech, and it really hasn't changed in 50, 19 years. I mean, granted, it's gotten much more sophisticated. Cameras more sophisticated. Screen is more sophisticated. The software is more sophisticated. Everything's more sophisticated, but the base device is roughly the same. And I've always thought about that, how, and especially in the last 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, about the iPhone and how amazing the iPhone is. Granted, the iPhone can be an issue for some people, especially now. People are talking about, you know, um, short attention spans and shorts. But man, oh man, has it been an incredible product. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to be wrapping this up in about 3 to 4 minutes. And again, it's going to be roughly this, not necessarily me talking so much. I think there's going to be less of me talking and more of me building out marketing assets, talking about things like what I saw with Law by Mike. Maybe we even watch something and you can see my reaction to it. And we can create some reaction videos to that. But again, I've put so much time and energy and effort. And granted, going straight through the industry with HOA has been difficult for me, but I am not deterred. If anything, I'm less deterred. And the reason I'm less deterred is because I have my product. When you take 2+ years to build something, and then you know how to build it, but you also know how you can adjust it. That's the great thing about software. You're just ready to go. And hearing a few things from customers specifically about our product versus competitors makes me very confident. Also, understanding what this company is. This is a tech company. This is a high tech company. And even if our first industry that we chose, our vertical, and that we're choosing to go to market isn't the highest of tech, it's a high tech company. And we will prove that, not by our dialogue, but through our products and through our services and through what we do in the next 20 to 30 years for property owners of all different types, whether you're an HOA today and in the next 5 years, whether you're in government, whether you're a utility manager, whether you are a institutional investor. Our technology will be high tech, and not high tech just for the sake of being high tech, but for the sake of making life easier, for the sake of maintaining value within our society, for the sake of making sure people have the awareness of the property that they purchased from the moment they purchase it. That's something that Zayuk really wants to do. We don't want this to be like a black box. Your HOA, it's complicated, but it's not rocket science. It's construction. It's construction, people management, accounting, but it's not rocket science. And the problem of HOA is the problem of accessibility. And Zayuk is able to solve that accessibility problem with our infrastructure. And we recommend that you reach out to us, or you have anyone you know who lives in an HOA, reach out to us. Thank you so much.